If you'd like to sponsor Still Got Game, give us a call at 773-527-2961 or email us at podcast@tooltoplay.com. Hey now, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, Still Got Game, episode 549. Still Got Game's official podcast of tooltoplay.com. I am, as always, Derek D. Smooth Nolan.
And I am Tiffany Electrify Nolan.
My beautiful wife has returned to the show.
Yeah, just for a one-off.
Yes,
I'm setting low expectations here.
yeah, this is not going to be a traditional show. We've been out of there was holidays, and then we were on vacation, and so what this show
And now I
serves.
have work.
Yes,
So like,
yeah.
yeah.
So this is going to be our PAX East recap, which is a few weeks overdue, but we wanted to at least get together and give you our insights. We are not going to do a mailbag this week. We're not going to do new releases. All that's going to come in tomorrow's episode. So really, we're just going to boil down, and no news stories. So we're just going to boil down
PAX East.
to PAX East. So why don't we just jump right into it, Tiff?
Sounds good.
All right. Uh,
So Derek, what were
yeah,
your first impressions of PAX East this year?
e-
I know it
e-
was like weeks ago, but can you
yes,
remember that far back?
I can. Each year, it's very different. As the big players have left year after year after year, it gets a little different. I went the day before to pick up our passes, and that's kind of when I got an idea of like looking in on the show floor how empty it was going to be, and then. But I still had that level of excitement, and we went in for our media hour that morning, and that's really when you saw how empty it
Yeah,
was.
that was that Thursday morning,
Yep.
which is the first day of the event. They usually open it up early for media that first hour. Usually they're still, I would say they're still setting things up. Like there's a lot of times we'll go through there and there's booths that don't even have like their PCs there yet, but you can tell something's going to be there.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, first impressions for me, very much the same. If there's always that level of excitement going to PAX East and just walking around and seeing what they have there. Definitely first impression this year, it did feel a bit empty to me. Like
Yep.
the Boston Convention and exhibition center.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
The BCEC, this is why people call it the BCEC, because it's just too much to say. Yeah, like that's a huge venue, right? So it really does take a lot, I think, to fill that space. And that's definitely something that was one of my first impressions. It did feel very open, like there was a lot of space to walk around. The aisles were very wide, so
Yeah.
that was definitely that was my first impressions
Yeah.
heading
Long
into
gone are
this
the
year.
days where we would like bump into people. They used to be probably, I would say, 8 foot aisles, and now they're probably 20 foot aisles, maybe more.
Yeah,
Um,
they were very spacious. There's
yes.
definitely a lot of walking room.
Yeah, you used to have to like turn sideways and kind of work your way through people, and now it's pretty easy to move through the show floor. So,
Yeah. What else did you notice like felt different this year or like comparing it to past
uh,
PAX East events?
one big thing was that the space on the show floor that was always dedicated to the big players, to your Microsofts, to your Riot Games, to
But that
the PlayStation,
yeah.
Nintendo, you name it. Those booths were filled by basically no-name indie games, and maybe it works out well for them. Maybe they've had to adjust their pricing to entice people to get these bigger booths, but everywhere where you would expect to see a AAA either title or company, they were not there. So yeah, definitely obvious. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there were a few here and there. Like, Nintendo definitely had pretty big presence there. And then, there's some other games that I think we'll save until when we talk about games that were there. But yeah, I definitely agree. There was a lot more. I will say even the amount of like I'll call it vendor space,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
where people were like selling merch and all that, I felt like that kind of crept over into what I would have considered the main
Yep.
video game area, like that half of the floor. You saw more and more, merch stands and vendors selling stuff, I think, on that side of the floor that we probably hadn't seen as much of in the past.
No, yeah. For those of you that haven't been to PAX East, the convention center is really it's long and deep. So uh,
It's a
normally,
rectangle.
yes. So it's a rectangle that you come in on the short side of the rectangle, and normally the first half of that rectangle is video games, and then the back half of that rectangle are things like uh, tabletop games, vendors, food trucks. Couple little arenas where they do these gaming events, but uh,
Yeah.
what used to be halfway through is now probably pulled back to maybe a third of the
A
way
third,
through.
yeah,
Yes, yeah,
that's probably about where I would estimate it.
yeah. So it's definitely different. Like the convention center has two bridges that go across it where you can look down on the convention center. And when you take the second furthest bridge, you used to look down like back towards video games and see video games, and then you would look the other way and see all these vendors and tabletop, and now from that second bridge you can't even see the video games. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. I will say, like, number of people wise, for a Thursday, it's really difficult, I think, for us to gauge, at least from that first Thursday, because that's usually the lightest day, right? Saturday's the big day. I would say, crowd wise, it felt about the same to
yeah,
me.
I would agree. Yeah, yeah,
Like number of people that were queued up, waiting to get in. Number of people in the media hour that were heading in to check out some of the games in that first hour felt, up roughly about the
yeah,
same.
yeah. I would agree. Even with the lesser things on the show floor, I don't think the
Yeah,
crowd changed at all. So um,
yeah,
which then you start to feel bad for the people that are there on a Saturday and it's a zoo, and
yeah,
they get there and they're like, oh, I'm gonna wait in line to play 2 hours to play some indie game or whatever. But no, there were some still big name titles. Big companies were still there. Like you said, Nintendo had a presence. Devolver Digital had a presence. Um, but very much less so. And we've seen
yeah.
this decline since 2019, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a lot more since the pandemic.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
be interested to see numbers wise. I'm sure we could pull those up. If they feel like they've recovered
yeah,
enough from the pandemic. But yeah, I mean, it's still PAX East though. It's still
yep,
fun to go to and walk around.
yeah, and see people that you know, and we
Yeah.
always end up running to my brother there, who runs his iPhone app website. So yeah, so it was good. All right, so you came up with some questions here, Tiff. What's your next one?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I guess let's talk games.
All right.
I know we've been trying to like save those and not spoil too much from the games, but I guess what was one game or one hidden gem that you saw on the floor you got hands on with that like really stood out to you? You'd like it's either surprise in a good way or a bad way.
I think this weird ass game that you and I played with some of the developers and some other random press, Batsu,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is I'm going to try to describe this as it's kind of a 3v3, kind of like soccerish game, but it's not soccer. It's more like with the giant balls and you're bumping into them, kind of like the one mini game in Fall Guys.
yeah,
But it was very competitive, very fun. Tiff and I played on a team with one developer, and the other team had one press person and two developers, and it was pretty tough, but it was fun.
yeah. It was fun. Yeah, it was very fun, and I'll
There's
say
lots of
like the
laughs.
there was lots of laughs. The gravity, it was very like low gravity, so there was a
Mhm.
lot of like, kind of,
Launching.
you launching into the air or launching other people into the air. I was laughing pretty much the whole time. It was a very fun competitive game.
Yep.
Yeah, but it very much, reminded me a lot of like some of the Fall Guys
Right.
mini games that they have in that. So
Yeah,
yeah, I really enjoyed that as well. That was definitely a surprise
yeah.
to me. We were just walking around and they're like, "Hey, come try this," and we're like, okay."
Yeah, it's not like we had tons of appointments like in the past. You look through the list of games that are going to be at the show, and you're like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So it's definitely, you want to see them. I think before I've definitely noticed that. I want to see stuff like not making appointments as much ahead of time as we used to.
yeah, it was one thing when you need to make appointments for the big three
Right,
and all of that, or even including Bethesda, including all the that second tier studios. But now where it's mostly independent studios um, or like Devolver is a tough one because you never know what they're going to have. They could have a AAA title
right.
or they could have
Yeah,
some garbage, barely playable indie game. So you don't want to just make appointments based on the name like we used to.
right.
Because I used to be like, oh, Devolver, we're going to book in Tiff's going at this time, I'm going at this time, and then you're going to do this and you're going to do this, and it just that kind of burned us over the last few years where we ended up in appointments that we
Yeah,
really didn't want to be in.
very much so. Yes, yes. You scheduled me a few of those in the past where I'm like,
Yeah, you're just like,
why am I
oh,
here?
I've played enough,
This,
and they're like, are you
yeah,
done? You're like, yeah, no, I got enough of an
yeah, yeah.
impression.
Like you
Yep,
don't want
yep,
to be rude, but at the same time, you're like, this is just not my type of game.
yep, yep. So we've played it a little safer with that. I'll let you do the next game. What do you have?
So, I mean, I guess definitely the big game on the show floor. It was the Elden Ring Night Rain.
Yep.
So we did get in to see that. It was theater only, but they had a really nice booth set up there. It was kind of like a half dome um, type spherical theater area. Gosh, how long we were in there for like 35, 40
I'd say
minutes or
40, 45
more.
minutes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
It,
they introduced the game, um, talked about some of the features of it with the multiplayer aspect, and then they pulled somebody out of the audience, I guess, who had played Elden Ring in the past. So they want somebody who had some experience playing the game because I guess some of it can be pretty challenging. But yeah, they walk through a couple different matches, and it seems like a really cool concept, like a very time-based game. You have a certain amount of time, and it has kind of the shrinking play area that
mhm.
forces you into battling monsters, trying to level up, gear up so that you can take on the big bad.
Yep. Yeah, because I had no interest in the original Elden Ring. That's not my style of game.
Yeah, I had
Uh,
heard a lot of people talking about when I was because I've been playing a lot of Diablo, and a lot of people were comparing it to that.
yeah, it's just it's one of those games that frustrates the shit out of you, and you throw your controller and this and that. But the multiplayer aspect of this sucked us in. Like, spoilers, we bought this game, so yeah, uh, we plan on playing this. I really enjoyed the shit out of it. So
Yeah, it just launched on May 30th.
yeah,
And we have not had a chance to try it yet. It's been a busy weekend,
yeah. It's only June
but
1st, so yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But we're hoping to play it some this week. Find some time to squeeze it in. But I'm excited. It's a 3v3, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, three-player max, co-op battle, almost like a mini battle royale.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, what type of
you,
game would you even call it?
I first, or no, it's not even. It is kind of like a battle royale with the shrinking map and how you have to
Yeah,
stay in the right places. But the maps are huge and they have mountains and
yeah,
caves
lots of
and
play area,
yeah. So you in trying to get out of your zone, you can end up fucking yourself over if like you get to where you have to
right.
go and it's a mountain there and you're like, oh
Yeah.
shit. But yeah, it seemed really fun and I can't wait to put some hours into that. So
Yeah, and one thing I thought that was really cool they mentioned about is that the map changes every single time.
oh yes, yep, yep.
So I thought that was really cool. Like, so what might work for you and your team one time, the next time you play, it could be a completely different map, completely different environment,
Yeah,
daytime, nighttime. So
weather,
yeah,
yep. And where
yep,
those waypoints are where you go to do either these battles or so you basically pick and choose on the map like kind of what you need and where you're going to go to to either build up your experience or to gain weapons and equipment and all this stuff. So yeah, it seems super fun.
Yeah. All right. What else did you play, Derek?
Oh, I played this weird ass game called White Knuckle, which is all I could describe it as a first person climber slash traverser. And
There were some like horror elements to it too, weren't
yes,
there?
there were. It was, yeah, it had horror in it. It was so bizarre, but the main control is you control each of your hands separately. So you like to climb, you have to alternate and then get the next one before you drop down, and then get the next one. And it took a bit to get used to, but once I was working it, I was doing pretty okay. I think Tiff was watching me. Um,
I was laughing and rooting for you at the same time.
but yeah, there was one point where I had to climb up this thing and get in this, you know, kind of cage-like room at the top, and I
Yeah,
kept
and you
falling
like go
back
across these
down.
beams and
Yes,
like yeah.
it was fun. Like it's not something I would have looked out for, but if it shows up on Steam and it's on the cheap, maybe I'll pick it up. I don't know. My Steam
Yeah.
library is huge, and I never play anything.
Yeah.
So
I
yes,
yeah. Yeah.
yep.
And we gotta fit Elden Ring in there
Yes,
somehow.
yes, yes, and I still have to play all my Call of Duty. So yeah,
Yes, yes, of course. Get all
of
your
course.
dailies in.
Yes, yeah. Uh,
Anything else you want to mention?
not that I played, but I have some other stuff that we saw. Do you have
Sure,
anything that you
go.
played that you want to talk about?
No, those are the two, like Batsu and Elden Ring were the kind of the two that I really wanted to make sure um that I talked about. There was, a lot of other great looking games that I wish I would have had a little more time to play, but
Fair enough.
sometimes you just run out of time.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, we saw at the Dune Awakening booth. That was a huge booth, very popular. That's a multiplayer survival game in the Dune universe. Um, Comes out on PC June 10th. That had a huge crowd. They kept capping the line on
Yeah.
that one, which is always a sign that it's something popular that, um,
Yeah, I think between that and the Elden Ring game, those were probably the two most popular booths. Oh
yeah,
well, and the
and
Nintendo.
Nintendo. Yeah, yeah.
Right, yes.
Yeah, Nintendo could be like, come on in the booth and we're going to punch you in the face. And there'd still be
Yeah,
they
yeah,
cap the
yeah.
line
That's gonna
for it.
be
Yes.
yep.
Yeah, that one's just an anomaly. Like, no matter what happens, the Nintendo booth will
Yeah.
always be packed.
Yeah,
They're like,
I think we walked by there and I think it was just people just sitting at tables playing one of the card games.
yeah,
I'm
it
not
was,
like really into a lot of the Nintendo stuff, but
yeah, no, it was not a normal Nintendo booth where there would be like either, 40 Switch setups or whatever. Like,
right,
there,
yeah.
it was very little. And I think maybe part of that's because Switch 2 was right on the horizon, and they tried to focus on something different, but it did come off as odd at best. So yeah,
Yes. But it
but
was busy.
yeah,
So they must have done something right.
yeah, exactly. They just put their name Nintendo on it, and then they did
Yeah.
it right. Yes, yeah. Also, the Razer booth had all kinds of new peripherals and hardware in there. Like most of my setup here is Razer. I have keyboard, mouse. My Lian Li case down there is a Razer inspired case that also supports the Razer shared lighting. Almost everything I have is Razer, so I like looking at their stuff. And they've got some exciting stuff on the horizon. So
Yep. Anything that caught your eye specifically?
the new version of my I can't lift my mouse. I can unplug it. The new version of my mouse
Okay.
is higher DPI, has more extra settings and all this other stuff to it. So I may upgrade my mouse and just shift this one to my office at work. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You seem excited by that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you love when I buy
I
stuff.
knew I should
Yes.
not have. I knew I should not have asked that question,
No,
but I'm
definitely
sure
not.
people wanted to know.
Yes. But yeah, other than that, like they have new versions of the keyboard that I have, which is actually the keyboard I have. I bought the newest one very recently because I had what I thought was a stuck key on my old keyboard, but it turned out it was just a firmware update. and
Oh
somehow
yeah.
somehow the Razer app does not automatically check for firmware updates for your stuff. You actually have to manually do it. So I had firmware updates for my mouse pad, my keyboard, my mouse, everything that even the computer case that I didn't know about, because even though the app is running, it's not like the Logitech app that constantly
Yeah.
checks and tells you your shit's out of date. So that's one way maybe Razer could improve. I don't know, but
Yeah. If
uh,
only they had user experience people helping them figure that out.
but yes, the hidden updates are not like, even my car tells me when there's an update, and
Yes.
but yeah, this was a little bit different. So, um, but yeah, other than that, they just I love their products and I'll keep supporting them. So, uh, saw this weird ass game. I didn't play it. Goblin Town, which was like a only it, the whole purpose of it was to speed run it. So one of those
You
kind.
love speedrunners.
I do. Um, Except for that one game that we played that time that was like a speedrunner kind of
L-
uh, Doom
Like
graphic
the
style.
metal, heavy
Yes, the
metal.
heavy metal one. Yes, that one,
Yeah.
that was a tough speedrunner, but this one looks pretty good if you're into these speedrunning games where you just want to haul ass and see how far you can get and your time on that. It seemed like a fun game. I watched people play for about 30 minutes, and it looked pretty fun. Um, and then at the Devolver booth, they had this game called Myco Punk, MYCO Punk. Uh, and, like we said, Devolver, you never know what you're going to get. And this was kind of like not the highest tech graphics FPS, but it was not like Doom level. Somewhere in
Okay.
between. And it was this multiplayer first person shooter, kind of like a match based shooter. So that looked pretty fun. Um, Not for me, but pretty fun. Um, you obviously have no interest in that either.
No, no.
Nope, nope. Uh, and then the let's see, the only other two that I made note of were really we saw again Pin City VR Bowling.
Yeah. That was at least their second year that
Eh,
they've been there.
Second or maybe third, yeah.
Yeah.
But this game, they just keep honing it, and think of Wii Bowling, but actually like accurate and not just like winging around your Wiimote and the ball
Right.
automatically goes down the middle and you get the strike. This is like a more finesse skill based VR bowling game, and they've updated it, like we said, like year after year after year. They come back with a more honed version, and I didn't want to wait in line to play. And actually, that's another side
Yeah.
note. I think this was one of the only two VR games we saw at the show
Yeah.
this year. So, which is weird because VR is making this new resurgence.
Are
Uh,
they though?
they seem to be.
Okay.
VR and AR seem to be the new hotness again. Um, but yeah, it definitely seemed honed. I watched this guy play, and it definitely had the nuances of actual bowling versus
Yeah.
the Wii
Yeah, and I
bowls.
think we did talk with one of the developers, and she
Yes.
was telling us that that the whole team, like that it's a kind of like a passion project for
Yep.
them, which is why it's taking, some
Year.
time. Yeah, that's why it's taking them some time. Like it's not their full-time jobs.
Yep.
But I think it's great that they continue to show up at PAX East and share with everyone how far they've come along and what they're doing.
No, I like these passion projects. Believe me, like the best game I've ever saw at PAX East was Jousting Time, which was like
Yeah.
literally my favorite game of all time, and it never made it through. But
No,
the
it
logistics of
didn't.
it, you need two VR headsets, you need two pieces.
Yes.
Like it
Yeah.
on
There's a lot
paper,
to
it didn't
it.
add up. There was a
Yes.
lot of prerequisites to do it, but it
Yeah.
was the most fun I've had at PAX East ever.
Yeah. Maybe one day when we, have a plethora of extra money, we'll buy it out and see if we can resurrect
Yeah,
it.
right. At least release the alpha. Come on,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. Uh, let's see. So then the only other thing, it was this one we didn't want to play. We tried to get away from the
No,
developers
yeah,
as soon as
we walked
possible,
by
but
it.
they hooked us in, and there was the iconography in their booth was, it looked like Clippy from Microsoft. Everyone knows
Microsoft,
Clippy, the
yep.
stupid paperclip
Yeah.
guy,
The
except when
original AI.
yeah, yes, but when you looked at him, instead of being a paperclip, he was actually a sword. Um,
Yes.
and that's the
I'm not really sure
premise.
what he did. Yeah.
That's the premise they built this game on, was a clippy style sword. He had his
What was
little
it? Do you remember
eyes.
the name of it? I didn't get a
I,
picture of that
I
one.
don't recall the
I feel
name
like it
yet.
was something like swordy. Like I feel like it
Yes,
was
yeah,
like
it was something
really,
that
yeah,
dumb. Yes, yeah.
yeah.
But it did it, it scratched a nostalgia itch, but maybe that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But they did have people there playing on all their stations, so and they had extra developers to flag us down, which was
Right.
thank God. Yeah. But that was pretty weird. Um, yeah, other than that, there was a lot of great indie games. The usual players for indie games were there, so
Yeah.
that there's no shortage there as far as the show goes. Like, if you just want to go and see some interesting games and play them, uh, despite the big three being gone, despite it not being the spectacle it once was, and even this happened with E3 as the big companies peeled off. Like, if
Right.
you remember, we would go to the South Hall, and the South Hall was
Yeah.
half empty at
Yes.
E3. So it's kind of going through that same iteration.
Yeah, it's definitely evolving and changing. It's gonna be interesting to see, where, like, what direction it heads. It's always been very indie friendly.
Yeah,
And you're definitely, you're seeing a lot more of that even than in the past.
yeah,
And I will say, even like tabletop, there's that really seems to be taking over quite a bit
yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
Yep. And there's a tremendous overlap in the Venn diagram between video
Yes.
gamers and tabletop gamers. It's not me,
Yes.
but
No.
well, no, yeah, it's
Sort of.
not.
I mean, we like to play board games.
We do. It's just I don't like learning a lot of new games, and like
Yeah.
you look at some of these booths and they're like, oh yeah, so first you roll the dice and then you pull from this deck of cards and then you throw down these sticks on the table and you pick up a stick and you're like, what's the fucking game mechanic here? Like they just they can't figure it out, so they do them all.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do like games, but it's just not my primary vector. Like, I'd rather play video games than sit here and just play Call of Duty and play Call of Duty and play Call of
And
Duty
more Call
and
of
more
Duty.
Call of
Yeah.
Duty. Yes, yeah,
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we get it.
yeah. That's my current hotness. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
yes, so there was like I we're not trying to dissuade anyone from going to PAX East. Like, this is, if you're gonna go in the next couple of years, because
Yeah. And I would
you
go on Friday or Sunday if you can,
or
because
Thursday.
Saturday, well, I mean, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
or Thursday.
Yes, Thursday is probably your best day if you can
Y-
peek
Take the
out
time off.
in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
And I know people coming from elsewhere. If you're taking off Thursday, then you're probably also taking off Friday. Um,
Right.
but yeah, Thursday is the lightest day on the show floor. Sunday is also light, but the caveat is that a lot of these vendors uh, and developers are starting to take down their
Starting to
booths
pack
on
up.
Sunday
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
either have some other show to go to or they just want to wrap up and get back to work.
Right.
And
Yeah, they have flights or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Sunday is your worst day, I would say. Saturday is the worst day for crowds. Sunday is
Yeah.
the worst day for
That's what I'm saying. Like,
completeness. Yeah,
like Friday's probably the sweet spot. If I was gonna go one day, I would go on a Friday.
yeah. See, I think I would still go on a
If I was not
Thursday.
me, yeah, if I was not media, like, because
Okay,
I think, yeah, if I was going as a general attendee, I think Friday would really be your best day to go. The booths are all set up by then. You've got a decent crowd. They figured out, some of the mechanics
queuing
of
and
getting their,
yes.
yeah, getting their, getting all of the games running.
Yep, yep.
So
Yeah, even
yeah,
on Thursdays when we go, sometimes they don't have the little tape on the floor to show where the line
right,
should zigzag back and forth, and then they're like, "Oh shit, people actually want to see our game." So then they change from a single line to like a zigzag four
yeah,
deep or five deep, and yeah. So yeah, definitely Friday, Thursday if you can. Thursday maybe everything's not ready yet, but it's the lightest crowds.
Definitely.
Because a
It's
lot of
it's easy
people,
to see the entire show floor on a Thursday.
yes, yeah. Because on Friday, a lot of people will either take their kids out of school or do whatever. And it's one thing to say, yeah, my kid's sick on Friday and go to PAX East, but like, you can't have a sick kid 2 days in a row. It seems odd, but well, I guess you can.
Yeah,
But yeah. But yeah, either Friday or Thursday. Definitely Sunday. I know it seems like it's always the last tickets to sell out,
it
uh,
is.
and I think it's because people are starting to learn that maybe it's not the best day to go. Like we've been there first thing in the morning on a Sunday, and
Yes.
people are
Yeah.
already breaking down
Yeah,
their
they're already
booths.
packing up. Yeah,
Yep.
that's true.
Even with harmonics back in the day when we saw what was their name? Was it Mixer? Is that what their game was called?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. When they were showing off Mixer, they were already starting that Sunday morning to take down that Mixer booth, and that was one of the biggest games on the show floor that year.
Yeah.
Always had a crack. Any game that has music that's cranking out of speakers that people know.
It
Uh,
draws a lot of attention.
yes, yes. Which is why Rock Band and Guitar Hero and those games always drew attention because
Yeah.
people are like, yeah, I know this. Yeah, I don't know the game, but I know this.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah, I know this
yes,
music. What's going on over
yeah,
there?
yeah. But yeah, even if your big guys are taking down the booths on Sunday, then just imagine the little guys that have to fly back to. And we talk to these developers all the time. They're from all these small European countries. They fly over. This is like
Yeah.
their Hail Mary pass, where they just want to get some kind of press coverage or connection with people and build fans. And but these guys have to fly back to like Lithuania or wherever. So
Yeah. Yep. All right. So, I think we've talked a lot about games.
yep.
Beyond the games, we mentioned that there were a lot of, vendors, merch booths, always like a treasure trove of like gaming gear and everything. Did you find yourself like looking for any specific vendors this year? Did you walk away with any new treasures or impulse buys?
Well, I always go over to the Artivision guys, who we have a bunch of their
Yes.
pieces in the other room. I had a particular piece in mind that I was looking for. They didn't have it in the show floor, so I'm just going to
I
order it from
know,
them.
sad. I know. Well, hopefully we have space on our Artivision wall for
Oh, we'll just make
it.
another Artivision wall. So, uh,
Yeah, but that booth was definitely, there's a lot of people asking about stuff. We saw at least three or four purchases when we were there.
yeah, these aren't
Um,
cheap purchases. Like
yeah,
we have a few of these pieces, and what are they like
150
150? Yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
something
ready.
like that.
So definitely not cheap, but they're quality pieces, and everyone that comes into our lower level lounge here in the house uh, compliments them, comments on them.
Yeah,
So we have one that's Barf from Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
We have a Halo one, and we
Yep.
have a. Why am I drawing a blank on the third one? You are
I don't
also
know.
drawing a blank.
I'm also drawing a blank.
But we have a third one too. Yes. I could walk in the other room and look, but
You could, but then you would be leaving me here all by myself.
oh, just
Um,
ramble.
just ramble.
Uh,
No, I feel like it was an older game, like a retro game.
oh, it's Kubert.
Cubert. Yes.
Yes, yes,
See?
yes. See, we got it. Yes. So those are the
Yeah.
three we have, and what I want to do is get this one that's like a Legend of Zelda slash Star Wars one, where instead of the
Yep.
sword, it's the lightsaber, and so I think
Little
that's the next.
mashup.
Yes, that's the next one we order. So unfortunately, couldn't
Yep.
pick it up and take it home from the show floor because
No.
I feel like we like those guys, and whenever we buy something there, I feel like when someone buys something, it stirs other people to buy something,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we like helping those guys out because their shit's fucking
Yeah. They do a
top
great
quality.
job.
Yeah.
Yes. Very much so. Yeah. I wish they had a little greater variety. I think we'd probably buy a few more, but they
Yes.
can
Yeah.
only work on so many at a time because they are such a small business.
Yep. Yep. But yeah. Um, is there anything you might have bought, honey?
So I did have a little bit of an impulse buy. We were walking by. This was a good moment, I think, of somebody trying to demo I don't know. I'll almost call it like a tabletop game. Um,
Tabletop-ish, tabletop adjacent.
Tabletop-ish. Yeah,
Yeah,
tabletop adjacent. I mean,
yeah.
the booth there, we're selling, multi-sided die and all of that. So I'll consider tabletop adjacent. But it's called Heroes of Barcadia. So I believe they were on Kickstarter at some point. So some of you may have
Or already
heard of
have.
this or already have it. But yeah, they were showing it off as a bit of like we'll call it a drinking game.
Yep.
Um,
It-
that you get special cups and a character. We haven't played it yet, but it's definitely on our list. But we bought the game and the expansion so that we had enough for 8 people to play. I think the original had six, and the
Yep.
expansion had um, two more players that could participate. But it's supposed to be like you have cards that you lay out and you flip them over and
They give you things to do,
give
and
you things to do, or you have to drink if you're like so far off. Like I guess it reminds me like Price is Right when you're doing the
oh,
the buy the car.
yes,
Like
yep,
if
yep,
you
yep.
so so yeah, I'm excited to play that. We're hoping to play that. I think probably Father's Day weekend. We'll have some family
There you
over
go.
and
Yeah.
and
Eight
break that out
people,
and
the
get
kids and
that.
their significant others, and
Yeah.
that's why we have eight. So yes, Tiff
Yeah.
bought the expansion for this reason. So
I didn't, but you bought it.
well, you were like, go pay for this.
I was exactly. I was like, we should buy this, but I was
Um,
not the purchaser.
wow, this is a technicality, but yes.
Yes,
Uh,
definitely a technicality.
but yeah, so we're gonna definitely be playing that a week from next Saturday on Father's Day
Yeah.
weekend with
So you can talk about it on the show
yeah, we'll talk about
after
it.
we play it.
So
Yes,
what's
you
that?
yes, you can talk about it on the show.
8, the 15th. So on the 16th, that's the episode that we'll be doing live, and we'll talk about Heroes of Arcadia. So
Yeah,
yeah,
very exciting. What else? What else about PAX East? Any
um,
other general comments, things you want to share?
well, like there's some things at PAX East I don't understand, but people love them, and and all for them. Like there's a whole section in this tabletop area where they sell these giant dining room table sized gaming tables where like it's got some bullshit cover on it, and then you pull off the cover and it's got like dice rolling areas and this and that, and you can put all your little miniatures, and these guys are hardcore about this shit. But uh definitely not for me, but the craftsmanship is exquisite. Like
Yeah,
they have the guys in the little suits there, the like these guys, they know it's a niche business, and they dress like if you were going to a high-end jewelry store, and where
right.
everyone's in a suit and they very professional, and it's kind of the antithesis of PAX East. But um, like you got the smelly people in their shirts, you got the cosplayers who are sweating up their giant costume, and then you have these guys in suits that are like, "Oh, let me sell you a gaming table for five thousand
Right.
dollars," and you're
Yeah,
like,
you did not buy one, right?
"No, not no, definitely
Okay.
not, no, no."
Okay.
If they were selling the gaming PCs, I might have bought one, but no. Uh, Gaming tables, not so much. But
All
uh,
right.
and the sheer amount of booths that sell dice, like
Yes.
I am not
I'm
a
so shocked by it.
yes,
Like
like
every booth.
every booth has their own take on dice, and they have all the same
Yes.
dice, like the same size and denomination
Sides.
of dice,
Yes. Yeah.
but they're all very different. Like some glow, some are made of crystal, some are, you know, made of uranium. Like no one even fucking knows what these things are, but every booth has their own take on dice, and people seem to buy them from all of them. Like
Yeah.
people love dice. People love dice, and I know we picked up because I hadn't played since I was a kid, but we picked up D&D, the latest one. We still haven't had a chance
Yes.
to play, but uh, maybe that'll be our intro into the dice
Oh,
buying
maybe.
community. Yes.
Yeah.
Tiff will be
I mean,
like,
if
we
they're
need to go
pretty,
get dice at
yeah.
PAX East. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm all for some crystal or titanium dice, I
yeah. Oh,
think.
yeah, the titanium ones too. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. These
Yeah.
guys do everything. Yes, it's nuts. So, um, other than that, I felt like they're doing a lot better management of their food truck stuff. Now
Yes.
they have a bunch of food trucks inside, another bunch of food trucks outside.
Outside.
we
Yeah.
we don't take
Plenty of
advantage of
food
any.
options.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't usually use any of those food options. We usually go to the restaurant in the hotel next
Yes.
door, and that's our kind of hangout place. Back in the heyday of PAX East, there would be parties there every night, whether it was Kotaku or Joystick or
Yeah.
whatever. So we've got used to hanging out there. But uh, other people that don't want to take like an hour and a half off the show floor for lunch, definitely not us. We like doing that. But like my brother, he just wants to, quickly
Something quick.
get
Yeah.
lunch and get back, and not have it be some shit convention center hamburger that's like been under a heat lamp for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and their food truck game has gone up and up and up. They just keep adding fancier and fancier ones. You can go get waffles, you can get crepes, you can do almost whatever. So,
Yep.
um, anything else you thought of?
I mean, just looking at like the organization, I definitely feel like they've done a great job of just keeping the event well organized.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's always room for improvement, but just the way that they're managing the queues, managing people, getting everybody to the right place. I think that that's always like really, really quality. Just organization of getting people around that venue, which is a pretty large venue.
Oh, huge. And
Yeah.
actually, tagging off of what you're saying, even a few years back when they switched from the metal detectors to those,
Oh
uh,
yeah, getting
I
people
don't even know how they
into
work
the
detectors,
venue.
but yeah,
Yeah.
it's so much easier to get in the venue now. Like, whatever they
Yes.
have, I don't know how it looks into your shit, but like,
I'm
you,
not sure I want to know.
yeah, you don't even have to open your bag or anything. They're just
Yeah.
like, no, you're good. And yeah, they're those weird kind of, you see them at some airports now and some
Yes.
venues, but
Yeah.
they're becoming more and more popular. Like I said, I don't know how they work, but it has definitely sped up the queue lines. If you look back
Yes.
at photos that we've posted in years past, there's sometimes where the queue line comes out of the front of the convention center, goes through 75 pins, and
Back.
then
Yep.
comes back and goes across the street to the hotel next
In front of
door.
the Westin. Yeah.
Yes, it's nuts. So this has been like you said, one of those logistics improvements that's been phenomenal, and I think we've seen that the last 2 years or maybe
I think
three.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think the last two.
yeah. But it's definitely been an improvement overall. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm reading your question again. I walk away. Treasures, impulse buys. Like I said, I would have impulse bought the Artovision stuff, but they didn't have any. Um, and I feel like Artivision now is also offering these smaller desk size pieces,
Yeah. Yeah.
which that's not
I,
my kind of thing. Like my desk at work is, I need to be able to sit there and have people come in and talk to me
right.
versus have art all over it. As it is, I already have a custom D Smooth Dumb Kings pop on my desk. So uh, but yeah, I just don't see that little size, but I love their shadow box art, and
Yeah.
I cannot actually. They're not a sponsor, but I cannot recommend these guys enough. Artovision, ARTO Vision, and look at their shadow box art, and they have some with black frames and some with kind of wood kind of
Yep.
frames. But definitely look into their shit because it's super
Yeah.
cool. They have everything from retro video games to now. Apparently, the owner or the guy that runs it must be really in a rush because they have a whole lot of Rush shit. Um,
Oh,
Album
I didn't see any
covers
of
and
that
yeah,
stuff. Okay, you
yeah,
you
yeah.
must have seen this on their website.
Yes, it's all on their website. Yes, none of that
Yeah.
was at the show, but when I went to the website to look to see what we wanted, yeah, I know it's pretty heavy on the Rush right now. So, um,
Nice.
but yeah, other than that, uh, yeah, it was a great show as always. Definitely different than the past. Like if you look back to PAX East 2010 and you had, we're throwing parties, Fragdolls are throwing parties, Joysticks throwing parties. All the big three are there. All
Yeah.
the second tier major developers are there, and it's definitely changed over time, but it's still a blast. I still love going. And I enjoy it. I just wish we could see more of our friends there, like we used to in the past. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't walk 5 feet without seeing someone you knew, and now it's you got to walk an hour to see someone you know. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think part of that is because you don't have the bigger studios there,
Hmm.
that
That all
we
our
used to
friends are
know.
from. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, I thought it was a great show.
Yeah. Same.
All right.
Can't wait
Uh,
to check it out next year. Do we have date next year? Did I see it was February? Is that right?
it's either February or March. It's back to the cold
Okay.
PAX East
Yeah.
months. Yeah. So
In March. Yeah.
yeah. So
Okay.
it's going to be back to the
Yeah.
suck next year.
Yeah.
Definitely
May
better
was
than
really nice.
yeah. There was the one year it was the first or second week in February. No, because it was Valentine's
Yeah.
Day. Yeah. So it was
Oh
this.
yeah.
It was the second week. We'll assume
It snowed, didn't it?
it snowed. It was yeah.
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 So yeah,
All
PAX
right.
East isn't a brutal time for actually no. And one last thing I'm going to tag up on this. Do you think, in your opinion, that PAX East needs to be 4 days?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah. I can see why they do it for PAX West because it's always
Yes.
on Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend.
So it starts the Friday and then you get
Yeah,
the Monday. But
yeah, I think it's putting a lot on the vendors, quite
to
frankly,
get there on a Thursday,
to
yeah.
get there on a Thursday, get everything set up. Yeah, I don't think it needs to be 4 days.
No, I know they're trying to
It's a
have
lot.
parity, but it's not the
Yeah.
same when it's not a holiday weekend. So
No, no,
yeah.
it's not. And it just and because it changes, each time too, right? Like
Yes,
it's
yep.
never the same weekend.
Yep. But yeah, and that's why you end up having that Thursday and Friday that someone has to take
Yeah.
off. So, and
Yes.
these people, the vendors that are coming in, while they're here, they're not selling wherever they're from. So,
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
they close down their shop, they bring it to PAX East on a Thursday, and are would they have been better off selling to their normal clientele, or is there
Or supporting their
sufficient?
games.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. I don't know what the answer is, but I do think PAX East should only be 3 days: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But
Yeah, I
that's just
agree.
me. All right. Um, well, if any of you have any questions, comments about this, give us a call, 773-527-2961. Email us at podcast@toolplay.com, or you comment us at the episode thread in the Tool to Play homepage. And sponsors, if we had them, we pimp them, but we don't, so we won't.
Artovision, be a sponsor.
Yes, Artivision, we love you. Sponsor
Yes,
us.
we love you.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah. All right, that was a good pitch. Oh, and
All
Tito's.
right.
Yes.
Tito's.
Twitter's up. You can find everything podcast related at twitter.com/still_got_game. Everything podcast. No, I fucked that up. Twitter's up. Twitter.com/tool to play. Everything podcast related to twitter.com/still_got_game. Facebook the podcast, facebook.com/tool to play. We also have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/tool to play. That is the on-demand library of all Tool to Play content, whether it's Hits Quick Hits, whether it's Tiff's immature interviews, whether it's Selden's Cam Show, whether it's episodes of this show, Thick and Thin with LB and Duty, they're all there. So youtube.com/tool to play. Please rate and review the podcast on iTunes. Give us 5 stars. You get an extra couple seconds. Write something nice. Hey, it was great having Tiff back. She should be back every week. Something like that. Convince her.
What was that at the end of that?
Well, that was like all their other sentences that I didn't care about.
Oh,
It was
okay.
only the entry
I see.
sentence that I cared about.
Yeah.
Yes. So any of those, definitely write that in there. We have a Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/still_got_game. That's one of the places we broadcast this show every week. We used to do it at twitch.com/tool-to-play, or twitch.tv/tool-to-play, but then they were like, you can't multi-stream and be a partner. So we're trying to re-partner using this new system they have. We have a Discord channel. That's discord.me/stillgotgame. Shadow's in there all day long answering everyone. Selden's in his bunker, not really participating as much as he used to. Tiff is in there all the time.
Oh my gosh. At least, like once every hour.
Yep. So, and I'm in there maybe once a day,
Yeah.
or once a week. if you ask Shadow, because he's like,
More, yeah, probably more like
yeah.
once a week
Shadow's like, are we doing
on
a show this
Mondays.
week? And then
Yeah,
I
when you're
answered on
coordinating
Monday,
show.
yes,
Yes,
tonight. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. You're
So yeah,
definitely in there on Mondays.
yes. So, but that is your place to communicate with other fans of the show, and some of the hosts and some past hosts. So definitely discord.me/still got game. Tiff, is there anything you want to pimp this week?
I had not prepared anything, so I'll just pimp Artovision.
All right.
Go check them out.
Yeah, that's definitely a charity. Uh, uh, so all
You
of
said pimp, not a
yeah,
charity.
no, okay, yes, that was pimp. Yes, any pimping you want. Uh,
Yeah.
so all my shit is at linktree/Derek Nolan. That's linktr.ee/Derek Nolan. As I previously mentioned, I also have updated my link tree to include some additional stuff. Obviously, Bartesian's on there, just in case you want to get one. But I did put a bunch of cancer-related charities on there. So I have the Dana
Nice.
Farmer and Jimmy Fund. I have the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation, and I have the American Cancer Society, all linked off of my link tree. So if you got a couple extra shekels and you want to send them in a way where they can do some good and help people out, definitely go to linktree/Eric Nolan and pick on some of those. I want to remind you all, since it's tomorrow, you can join us each and every. Well, no, sorry, I take this back. We changed this wording. Join us some Monday nights at live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific at youtube.com/tool to play, facebook.com/tool to play, twitch.tv/still_got_game, and kick.com/still got game. And on that, why don't we wrap this Hey Honey episode up? I am Derek D. Smooth Nolan.
I'm Tiffany Electrify Nolan.
Love that girl.